Okay, great. How's everyone doing today? So my name is Austin Olney, and yeah, so we're going to be doing a webinar on videography and libraries. Okay, so we're basically going to be focusing on the art of video and how it relates to, libraries today. So before I get started, I just want to thank everyone at NYLA. So Jeremy and Kelsey, thanks a lot for helping me set this up. And thanks everyone for, everyone who's here right now for signing up and joining, because I think there's some really exciting stuff that can be used nowadays with modern technology as it relates to video. And there's some exciting things you can do. So for starters, let's see, who am I? So my name's Austin Olney. Like I said, I work down at the White Plains Public Library. My official title is Digital Media Specialist, so I do all sorts of different technology-related tasks, usually dealing with computers and devices, and I do a lot of programs and services with video for patrons who come down to the White Plains Library. And by the way, just so you know, White Plains is just above New York City, so just so you know, your geography here. I'm a member of the Film Roundtable. So that stands for Finding Inspiration in Literature and Movies. And as a side note, I do like to create videos on, as a hobby personally. And I've always been into creating videos. Before I even got into libraries, I liked making videos and putting them on YouTube. So this is actually one of the things that got me into technology in the first place. And I think it should be noted because, I love this stuff, and I think there's a lot to love, I guess is what I'm getting at. So some of the objectives for today, I want to focus on three main things. I want to expose you all to the world of videography and all its different facets. And I want you to be able to facilitate library events and harness technologies nowadays that involve videography. And most of all, I want to inspire you. So I want to kind of give off some of my excitement for videography and hopefully, get you guys a little excited about it, and in turn get the patrons who come to your library and get them excited about it. Because nowadays there's so many different possibilities with modern digital technology that a lot of this stuff is relatively easy to do. It's just that getting yourself through that doorway into the world. So what is videography? It's basically anything video. It's the technical term, I put the definition right there, refers to the process of capturing moving images on electronic media. So it could be videotape, direct-to-disc recording, or solid-state storage, and even streaming would fall under the term videography. So basically any video work outside of commercial motion picture production can be called videography. And I think that's just because there's a lot of overlap with videography and cinematography. But basically when I say videography, I just mean anything video, because there's so many different aspects of videography. It's just a good broad term to use. So what I first wanted to do was kind of give you some different ideas that you could implement in your library. I'm fortunate enough to work at a library where I have access to all these different sorts of all these different technologies, and I have the ability to experiment with different programs and different uses. So I'm just gonna give you some of the ideas that I've had and that I've implemented here. So first and foremost, instructional classes. So classes where you teach usually video editing, but some sort of video creation process. You can see here, this was a videography class. We called it Video Editing for Teens, and you can see the teen right there is super excited about what I was showing him. And this is a completely staged photo, just so you know. But we thought it was really funny, and it's a fun program to use. it's a fun class to teach because the kids are into it. You know, they're always watching YouTube and different sorts of video, so it's really easy to tap into that. And more than just teaching patrons about video editing, you want to actually help them with their projects, ideally. I've had patrons come in who wanted to make, you know, they wanted to take their home videos that they've recorded and edit them in such a way that makes it fun to watch. Not that it's not fun to watch by themselves, but, you know, adds a little bit of fun to it. So this guy came in and he wanted to add the score and the points to his kid's football team, his kid's football game, and, you know, show the points on both sides, show a timer. This is just a stock image, but I wanted to get that idea across where I hadn't thought about that when this guy came to the video editing class and he said, you know, I want to make this video. Can you help me with that? And I was like, of course. And I helped him with a program that I'm going to talk about. There's other ways you can help patrons with creating video. A lot of them want to create slideshows. I've had people come in who have different pictures from their, you know, it could be a vacation that they took, or you know, whatever, and they want to put it into a slideshow and put that slideshow, you know, make that slideshow into a video, and I help them do that. So assisting patrons is really at the core. You know, it's really at the core, at least of what I do. So this is a great way to do that. And if you're not into creating the actual video and you still want to harness video in your library, you can always just show a film. That's another great way to harness video. We do here at the White Plains Library, we do International Film Festival, where every month we show a different film that features a different culture. And it's incredibly popular. People love to come and watch the movies. They're usually in subtitles, and it's a cool way to show, you know, different cultures, and, you know, have a kind of a community event. So that's one way. Community stories. So this is a very successful program that we do at the library here, where it's called TV Production Camp. This is a picture of the kids working on it and some of the teachers from the local middle school, where they break off into groups and they have different roles where they're video editing, they're interviewing, and they're researching, and they're doing all these different tasks so that they can create a news segment. And the news segment is usually about a particular community organization in the area, or you know, some sort of related institution, where they actually go out into the field and interview these people, or have them come in to the library and interview them here, and then they create a little news segment. So it's a really great way to get to know what's going on in the community, get the kids out there, get them involved, and teach them the art of video making. So there's a lot of benefits to this program. And at the end of it all, we do a showcase where we invite all the parents and family and friends of the patrons who attended the program. It's primarily designated, it's for teenagers. So usually their parents come in, and they come in, and we show off the news segments that they made. And it's always a good time. We have pizza and soda, and they come in, and there's always a lot of laughs. And sometimes people that were interviewed come and visit the showcase. So we interviewed the superintendent of the White Plains Public School District this year, and he came and had a little talk, you know, before they showed his interview. And it was just a really good it was a really good time, first of all, but it was a really good service for the community and everyone involved. Okay, so that's a really good idea, at least from what I've found. Another thing you could do is, for patrons, you could help them to convert old home videos they might have on VHS. There's ways to do that. You could set up a little station and convert old mediums to the current digital medium for, you know, whatever use. And let me open up the chat here. I haven't been watching it, but I'll keep the chat open just so I see. Okay, another idea that you can implement in your library is streaming. So you might have an event that you want to stream to the internet public. You could have it set up in such a way that they might need a passcode, but you can put your library event live online as long as you have a computer with an internet connection for free. So it's just one of the ways that you can really see how modern technology really makes it easy, and it's only getting better and easier. So let's see. Another thing you could do is create a digital public service announcement. So we've worked with the Allstate insurance company. They've given us a grant where they had this message. It's a car insurance company, so their message was don't text while driving. So we've actually created a couple of different PSAs where we're getting out the message to teenagers to basically not text while they're driving, because it's a very dangerous thing to do. Many teens are killed every year because of texting while driving, and it's it goes beyond just texting. Nowadays a kid can open up Facebook while they're driving, and it's a very scary thing. So we've actually made a couple of different PSAs to kind of prevent that from happening, at least lower those numbers. Okay, creative projects, kind of like the football video or the slideshow. You can help a patron make a music video. It's a fun project. And one of the big things that kids are into these days is streaming and recording video game footage, and they love it. And I don't necessarily understand why. I mean, instead of sitting down and playing a game, a lot of times they'll sit down and watch another kid play a game, and I just don't get that. But I don't have to get it. I just have to help. I just have to be able to help them be able to do that if they want to. As long as everything's within reason. I have the software loaded to where they can actually stream the content of the game they're playing, or easily enough you can have them pull in content from someone else, but usually it's live. But you can also capture the video, capture your screen of the game you're playing, and then edit that into a produced video. So there's a lot of different directions you could go there. If you haven't already, and if you're interested in video, it's a good idea to have a library YouTube page, which we have. White Plains Public Library YouTube page, where we upload all those news segments that I was talking about. You can actually look up, if you just go to YouTube and type White Plains Library, you can see the news segments that we've done, and the PSAs you can see right there. It's right on the front page there. So we try to keep that fresh, and it's just a good way to get yourself out there. It's another social media that I think a lot of libraries overlook, for better or worse, where they might have a Facebook page, but it might be also nice to have a YouTube page where you can show off patron work, or you could record one of the classes or programs that you do and generate some interest that way. A lot of this stuff is just awareness. I find, at least with the programs that I do. And by the way, I do much more than just video. I do coding classes and music making, video game design, 3D printing, all that sort of thing. So video is just one thing that I do. And it's just having a YouTube page generates that interest and gets the awareness out there so that people know what's going on. A lot of people step into the library and they're like, oh, I had no idea that you guys had a 3D printer. And so I found that one of the things is just getting your library out there and letting the public know what you have and what you offer is half the battle. So YouTube page can help. Okay, so those are some library ideas. So now on to actual equipment. So if you wanted to get some equipment for your library, before you do anything, before you pull out your wallet, you might want to look into your local community resources and see what is available in your town or at least close to your library, see what they offer, because you might be able to have some sort of partnership that would benefit everyone. So we have a local TV station in town, and I realize White Plains is not your average city. It's relatively large. So we have the benefit of having many different resources, and I realize that. But a lot of the stuff you just got to get creative with. So anyway, we have a local TV station that has helped us make the PSAs, and that I talked about before. But you also might want to look into local movie theaters, your schools in the area, school district. Like I said, I was talking about the TV production camp. We've worked with the Eastview Middle School in town, and they helped us out with that, and they really helped us get going with that program. I mean, it was their idea in the first place. So working with schools is beneficial, and local filmmakers, you might be able to create a partnership there. We also had a filmmaker come in and help us with one of the PSAs, a different PSA, and it was good. It was good for everyone involved. So if you want to go out and get a camera, I listed some here. And by the way, I'm going to have this presentation, I'm going to have the link to this presentation at the end of the slideshow here, so that you can access it, download it, have all the names, everything that I'm talking about now available to you. So, okay, so up top, I got this camcorder. This is a nice little handy camcorder. It's high quality, but not too big, and it serves a lot of different purposes. I've recorded many a different class with this camcorder. It works great. These little Canon PowerShots are good. They're nice and small. They're good for if you want to have teens practice taking pictures or taking short videos. And then this is our top camera. This is our this is the main camera we use in our video studio, which I'm going to talk about. But this is a really good camera. And it took years for us to get to the point where we said, you know what, we should buy a nice camera. We used this camcorder for a while. So those are some examples. But maybe you don't have a big budget, or maybe you don't want to necessarily shell out the dough for a camcorder. Well, a lot of patrons these days have smartphones, and a lot of those smartphones have cameras on them. So you could do a program where you have patrons, whether they bring in their own footage from their camera, or you could have them, you could have teens. If you had a group of, say 16 teens come in, if a quarter of the kids had a smartphone, you could split them off into 4 groups, and each with one smartphone, and they could record footage, and they could do exactly what we do for the TV production camp. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is, a lot of it is thinking outside of the box and looking at the tools that you have and making the most of those tools. It's easy to write yourself off and say, well, we can't do that, but you might be able to. So it's worth thinking about. Some other things you might want to look at if you do have a budget for this sort of thing. They're not necessary, but having a tripod is a good idea for that stable recording. If you're making a news segment like we were, teleprompter is also a good idea. You would also need a connected computer, so it's something you want to think about if you're going to get a teleprompter. And some type of mic system. We were doing interviews in our video studio, so it's good to have lavalier mics. But a lot of cameras have mics on them, so a lot of this stuff is luxury. Okay, luxury. I understand that the video studio is a luxury, and it is. This would be the end game. This is the ultimate for any video project in a library. If you have your own video studio, well then, you have a ton of options, and it makes life easier. And you can see right there we have a TriCaster. That's a system where you can record different video feeds and cut out a green screen in real time. Now, we never bought a TriCaster. We used the local school's resources as a partnership and created videos using the TriCaster that way. So like I said, check out those local resources before you shell out, you shell out a dime, because it might work out. At least you can try. So anyway, the TriCaster is a very expensive piece of equipment. That's like $4,000. So I wouldn't recommend just hopping in and getting that. I mean, we haven't even gotten a TriCaster. We found ways around that. But something to keep in mind. Green screen, also a neat idea where you can create more advanced videos because you can cut out the green from the background. This is a setup we have where we have 2 tripods that hold up this huge green cloth, and so it's a portable green screen. But you don't have to get that. If you're on a budget, just get a can of paint. You'll be good to go. As long as you have a wall that is available to paint, you could go to Home Depot and actually have the information, the specific information for the perfect green color that you can get at Home Depot. I think you get a gallon of paint, or you can get a can of paint for 20 bucks, I believe is what it comes to at Home Depot. You might only need a quart, but having the painted wall option is another way to save money and have the technology. A lot of this stuff is just, it's so built up in our minds that it's really not that complicated. Just paint a wall green, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be green. Really, the way a green screen works is it just has to be a color that the computer recognizes, that stands out from everything else in the scene. So if you wore a lime green shirt in front of a green screen, it wouldn't work because the computer wouldn't be able to distinguish between your lime green shirt and the wall. Okay, so it's just something to keep in mind. Way to save money. So I just talked about hardware. Now I'm going to talk about software. Okay, so different software you can use as it relates to videography. First of all, if you want to be able to watch a video on your computer, it's a good idea to get the VLC media player. This is a pretty popular video playback application. Love VLC. It can play pretty much any video that's out there. And if the video doesn't work on VLC, 9 times out of 10, the problem is with the video itself, not VLC. So can't recommend it enough. QuickTime players, okay. It's good to have, but like I said, I would stick with VLC media players. Free and open source. By the way, a lot of the apps, most of the apps I'm talking about today are free and open source and available on Mac and Windows at the minimum. So video distribution sites, I talked about YouTube a little bit, but there's also Vimeo, which is good for creative projects. And with both of these websites, you'd have to make an account. You also want to think about your social media, where Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter all have the option to upload video. So we have a YouTube page, Facebook page, and an Instagram page. Honestly, not sure if we have a Twitter page or not. But like I said, getting your library out there is a good idea, and there's some of the resources you can use to do that. So especially with video. So here's 5 resources you can use to put your video out there. Okay. So video editing. Talked a little bit about this, and nowadays it is so relatively easy to create a video from different clips. So back in the day, in the early days of video, it was what's called linear editing, where you actually had people taking strips of film. You can see the guy up here, very frustrated, looking at the different frames of the film, and you'd actually use scissors or some type of snipping tool and literally tape the film together, and that's how you would edit. That's linear editing. But nowadays, we have non-linear editing systems. So pretty much any video editor you use on your computer nowadays is non-linear, meaning you can go and you can work on the beginning and that won't affect the end, and vice versa. It's not like one continuous strip of film that you have to edit. You can edit different parts and it won't affect the other parts. And like I said, nowadays, so much easier to make video with non-linear editing than it was back then. And here are some free video editing apps. I highly recommend OpenShot of the 4 here. And really, of all the apps that I'm talking about, OpenShot, I would say, is your go-to video editing library. I've done classes with all of these apps, and I find that OpenShot is the easiest to use because it's simple, it's open source, works on all the different platforms, and it's like I said, the biggest thing is that it's easy to use. So OpenShot, I would download that. iMovie is really good as well, but I'm not going to recommend that necessarily because you need a Mac or an iOS device to use iMovie. So OpenShot is your go-to. I find it's very easy to use with a class. Lightworks is another one. Lightworks, you need an account, however, and it's not so simple to use. So I used Lightworks with my classes for a while, but I would actually not recommend this one unless it's the only one that works for you. And HitFilm is great. I don't want to talk and act like HitFilm is not great because it is awesome. It's a little bit more advanced. And when you're doing an intro to video editing class, starting out with HitFilm is a bit much to take in. So if you've never video edited in your life, I would start with OpenShot or iMovie if you have a Mac. And nowadays, when you start up your Mac, iMovie used to be pre-installed, but nowadays you have to download it. So you might have to check the App Store, but check your computer if you have a Mac and see if iMovie's there. And OpenShot, of course, you'll have to download and install. And I got all the links here for you guys. And like I said, I'll have the link at the end of this presentation for you to have all these links and have the entire presentation. Okay. Now, commercial video editing apps. If you do have a budget and you would like to get some professional video editors, Final Cut Pro X, I can't recommend enough. Love Final Cut Pro X. They have actually made movies with Final Cut Pro X, like Hollywood movies that you see in the movie theater. Some of them have been made with Final Cut Pro X, and it's basically like an advanced version of iMovie. And it's only for Mac. I got to point that out. It's only for Mac, which in general I would say that if you're going to be video editing, it is ideal to have a Mac, but definitely doable with a Windows or a Linux system. So there's Magix Vegas Pro. This used to be known as Sony Vegas Pro, but this is a great video editor for Windows. Okay, it's a lot like Final Cut Pro X, and I recommend it. And then there's Adobe Premiere, which is another app from the Adobe suite. You guys have probably heard of Photoshop. You might not have heard of Adobe Premiere, which I really wish that they called Adobe Premiere. I wish they called it Adobe Video Shop. I thought that would have been cool because it just makes so much sense that this is Adobe's video editor, Adobe Video Shop. So you can think of this as Adobe Video Shop. Again, it's not free. The Adobe programs these days are subscription based. So just know if you do go and get the Adobe suite, if you want to get Photoshop, you might want to look into getting the Adobe suite because it also comes with Adobe Premiere, which is a very professional video editor. So all video editors, video editing applications usually follow the same format, and I got it broken down here just so you can understand it better for those of you who have never video edited before. So you pull in your original files, you import them. Usually there's a panel in the top right, sometimes it's on the bottom left, but there's usually an import window. So this is where you pull in your music files, your audio files, your pictures, your videos. You pull them all into this window. And what you do from there is you take your original files and you're going to pull them into a timeline. Okay, and the timeline is like looking at your video sideways. This is your non-linear editing. And you're going to pull in your video clips, right? And you can see here's a couple of clips here and here. And this looks like an audio file. Maybe it's some music. And you look at it sideways, and right here, there's always a playhead. And this line right here in green, this is where you are in the current video. So when you hit play, this line goes through the video and it shows you where you are. So you can drag and drop these video clips and create your final video, which shows up right here. So as you're editing in the timeline from your imported clips, the output shows up here. Okay, and this is what's gonna finally be exported when you export the video for whatever format you want. So you could export it to a file for your computer. You could export it directly to a DVD if you wanted to. And most likely what you're going to do is export it to YouTube. And the way I do that is I usually export it to a file and then upload that file to YouTube. So whatever you see in this export window, in this output window up here, is what you're going to see when you finally export the video. If you have iPads, it can be really fun to create videos on an iPad. There is an app called iMovie, which I talked about, but it has an iPad version, and you can make these really fun trailers. And if you want to check it out, just go to YouTube and type in White Plains Library. You can see a ton of our trailers that we've made with the iPad iMovie app. Really, really fun to use, really easy to use, and it's a great way to get kids introduced to video editing. And like I said, tons of fun. So maybe you don't want to record your video content, and maybe you don't have access to a camera. Well, there's plenty of content that you can find out there on the internet for free that you can download and use in your video project. So I listed some resources here. First of all, if you wanted to show a movie, this website here gives you a list of videos that you could use that are copyright free. And then if you want to actually pull in some videos and download them and edit them yourself, here are some other resources, the Internet Archive. Although beware of the Internet Archive, because there's some inappropriate stuff on there, and I didn't realize that till the middle of a class one time, and that was just great. So just keep that in mind. You might want to pre-check what the kids are downloading. And as far as music, there is some resources here. Bensound is really good, and these are free music websites that you can download MP3s to use in your videos. And if you just want music in general to use with your different projects, these are some good resources. And of course, royalty-free video, royalty-free photo, where you can download some images here. And actually, you might want to use these resources if you're creating a library flyer, for example. It doesn't have to be just video. There's a lot of overlap between these resources and technologies. Okay, so special effects. Special effects and video have been around since the beginning of video. So this is a scene from King Kong, which I'm sure a lot of you recognize, but you know, this is claymation back, I think it was 1931. It's amazing what they were able to do back then. But it's really the same thing that we're doing nowadays, just nowadays it's a lot easier to do. So anyway, special effects have always been around. Nowadays you're going to see visual effects, which is a branch of technology that centers around using computer graphics in video. So usually you record a video clip and then you put in the overlay of computer graphics on top of it. So that's visual effects. A lot of people confuse that with CGI, which is fully computer generated. So visual effects is when you have a video clip and you overlay computer graphics on top of it. Think Transformers. And CGI is where it's all computer graphics. So think Frozen or, you know, Toy Story. That's CGI. Okay. So animation and the like, I would consider a part of videography, but I will probably, hopefully, do an animation webinar in the future, because it's a whole other branch. Even though, yes, the final output is video, it's a whole other way of creating video where you're not using cameras, you're using virtual cameras, and it's equally interesting to regular filmmaking, but completely different, even though it's tied to the medium. But here's a couple, just to tide you over until then, here's a couple of apps that you could use to create CGI. Blender is great. Blender is very versatile. I recommend Blender for a lot of different reasons. It's advanced, so you might want to keep your expectations in check, because it is not a straightforward program to use, but you can create visual effects and CGI with Blender. Okay. Also, it goes beyond visual effects in movies. You can create models for 3D printing, models for video games, and more. Actually, I think Blender you can actually video edit with, now that I think about it. So I could almost have put Blender in the video editing page back then, back there. Also, there's Autodesk Maya. This is like the industry standard. This is one they use in official studios and professionals use. Now, it's not free, although there is a free student version you could use by applying for the student license. So you might want to look into that. Autodesk Maya, it's a lot like Blender, but even better. But if you don't want to go through the hassle of having an account and all that fun stuff, just go with Blender. Okay, so along with visual effects in movies, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how a green screen works. So I mentioned before, basically the idea is you film someone in front of a green screen, right? And then the computer basically recognizes the green parts. You tell the computer, all right, this particular color I don't want to see, and you remove it, and then you're able to put in whatever you want behind the person. And you can see, you notice he's not wearing a glass face mask in the original shot. They put that in after, and I think they did that for all the lighting. So that's very advanced stuff. Honestly, I haven't even really done CGI, so I wouldn't worry about that. I'm just kind of trying to show you the different possibilities you can go. This is compositing, which is basically using a green screen. That's chroma key compositing. That's the official term. So that's that. There's Lego animation, which again would fall under animation, but I just wanted to point that out because the final output is a video. All right, so more relevant, screens and streams. So I talked a little bit before about streaming. Here are some resources that you can use. Say you want to stream a library program that you're going to do. These are some resources you can use. Twitch.tv, this is a good one. And of course, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, you can stream video in real time to the internet public using these resources. And open broadcast software, very highly recommended by myself. This is a great program for streaming and screen capturing. Okay, so open broadcast software, it's also known as OBS, but it allows you to stream your video in real time, and it allows you to capture your video to create an actual video clip from your video screen. And I didn't mention this before, but one library idea that you might want to use video for is tutorials. So you might have a resource that you use at your library that people are always asking about, and you want to have a way to teach patrons how to use it by clicking on a link. So you might want to have a video using something like OBS where you're capturing your screen and showing them how to use some sort of resource on your computer. All right, so you could record what you're doing on your screen, save it using OBS, and then create a video from that. Just an idea. I know we did that when we had we switched to a wireless printing service at the White Plains Library here, where actually it was an additional feature. We didn't switch entirely everything, but we went from offering printing from a computer to printing from a computer and printing from wireless devices. And one of the ways that we use to teach both staff and patrons is a video tutorial. And finally, I just want to talk a little bit about the future of video. Just in general, you can see 360 video is becoming a thing. We actually have a couple of 360 cameras here at the library, and this is a whole other branch. I might do a webinar on that in the future if I'm able to, because there's many different layers to it. Basically, it's panoramic video, where you can watch video. You can even watch 360 videos on YouTube, where you're watching a video and you can actually drag the video and look in different directions. Or you can make it easier and throw on a virtual reality headset and play a video, and you can look all around and see the video feed. So that's a whole other branch, and I just wanted to point that out. But the biggest thing I can say to you today is good luck with your video incorporating at your library. And like I promised, I have the link for this presentation. Feel free to write that down. We may have it available afterwards, but if nothing else, get this. I would write this down, the www.tinyurl.com/videography NYLA. All right, and you'll be able to get to the Google document. You might need a Google account for that. But let's see, are there any questions? Okay, I see. What does the TriCaster do? Okay, so the TriCaster is it's a piece of equipment. TriCaster, I believe, is the company name, and they created the model that we used at the library, and that allows different streams to come in from different video cameras, and like I said, it can pull off the green screen in real time. I forget what the exact model of that TriCaster was, but yeah, I believe that's the company.
We have another.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have another one that just came in. So is it a mixer, the TriCaster?
Yeah, so part of the TriCaster is that it's a mixer. So it's basically an all-in-one sort of thing. I mean, the TriCaster itself is it's a computer. So the computer comes with monitors and microphones and a mixer. And I think some other it has an audio mixer, but it might have a video mixer as well. And I'm not sure if it comes with the cameras, but you might have to buy the cameras separately. But yeah, the TriCaster is like a broad term for all these different things under one umbrella.
We'll give everybody a couple more minutes to put in their last minute questions.
Welcome.
Austin, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any program that you did that you found incredibly successful that you would recommend?
Well, for sure, like I said, the video editing is a good one. I call it video editing 101. People always show up. I mean, and one of the things that I do when I'm testing out a program is I don't advertise it at all. I just like to see, will patrons come without any sort of flyers or anything? And people always come to the video editing programs that I do. And of course, the TV production camp. Mm-hmm. That's probably the most successful program we do, not just in the video realm, but just in general. TV production is very popular at the library.
Okay. If we don't have any other questions, we can conclude today's webinar. I want to say thank you to Austin again, and thank you for joining us today. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Oh wait, we have one. How long is the camp? Is it like 1 week during the summer, or what's the duration?
So we actually do a couple of different sessions. It's 2 weeks per session, and we do 4 days per each week. So it's 8 days, and on each day they come in the morning. So it's 8 days, 3 hours each day. And so it's a pretty extensive program, but we do have the teachers from the local middle school come in and help us with that. So it's a large event, and really you have a lot of options for how you want to set it up. But yeah, we do an 8-day program.
All right, great. Thanks everybody, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Austin, looks like we have one more. Do you have any
Okay.
way to transfer video to DV?
It's probably DVD
DVD, yep,
is what
there
they
it
meant, right?
is.
Okay. Yes. So if they have a video and they want to convert it to DVD, there's one called FreeMake. There's a resource out there called FreeMake, which will take a video and allow you to export it to DVD. Also, Windows Movie Maker. If you can get a hold of that, that will allow you to export a video to DVD. And there's one other one, Handbrake. Actually, Handbrake will allow you to take a DVD and pull video from it.
Okay. And how can someone create a virtual tour?
Well, if you wanted to create a virtual tour and you had funds, first thing you could do is get a 360 camera. That would make a virtual tour amazing because you could record in panoramic and have the person look in any direction while the video is being played. But you could do a virtual tour with PowerPoint. I've done a virtual tour with PowerPoint where you just have it's essentially a slideshow. So it depends on how far into your tour you want to get. But actually, yeah, there's a lot of options. It's a pretty broad question. But yeah, ideally 360 camera.
Great. Thanks everyone again, and we will conclude today's presentation.